The U.S. Constitution, revered as a cornerstone of American governance, stands as a testament to the ideals of democracy, liberty, and justice. Crafted in the aftermath of the Revolutionary War, this seminal document continues to guide the nation through a myriad of challenges and triumphs. In this comprehensive overview, we delve into the intricacies of the Constitution, exploring its historical context, structural framework, enduring principles, and contemporary significance. Historical context. The genesis of the U.S. Constitution can be traced back to the tumultuous period following the American Revolution. The weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation, the nation's first governing document, highlighted the need for a stronger central authority. Thus, in 1787, delegates from 13 states gathered in Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention, with the daunting task of designing a more effective system of governance. Against the backdrop of social upheaval and political uncertainty, these delegates embarked on a historic journey to forge a document that would shape the course of American history. Structural framework. At the heart of the Constitution lies its structural framework, meticulously designed to distribute power, safeguard liberties, and promote the common good. The document is divided into 7 articles, each delineating the powers and responsibilities of the 3 branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial. Through a system of checks and balances, no single branch can wield unchecked authority, ensuring accountability and preventing the concentration of power. Additionally, the Constitution establishes federalism, delineating the respective powers of the federal and state governments, thus preserving the delicate balance between national unity and regional autonomy. Enduring principles. Embedded within the text of the Constitution are timeless principles that continue to resonate with Americans to this day. Central among these principles is the concept of popular sovereignty, affirming that the authority of the government derives from the consent of the governed. Moreover, the Constitution enshrines the rule of law, ensuring that all individuals, including government officials, are subject to a system of legal principles and procedures. Furthermore, the document safeguards fundamental rights and liberties, guaranteeing protections such as freedom of speech, religion, and due process of law. Through its flexible yet resilient framework, the Constitution has adapted to the evolving needs and values of American society, serving as a beacon of democracy and justice. Contemporary significance. Despite being over 2 centuries old, the U.S. Constitution remains as relevant and influential as ever in shaping the nation's governance and identity. Its enduring principles have guided the nation through periods of crisis and transformation, serving as a bulwark against tyranny and injustice. Moreover, the Constitution serves as a source of inspiration and emulation for nations around the world, highlighting the enduring legacy of American democracy. In an era marked by political polarization and societal upheaval, the Constitution continues to serve as a unifying force, reminding us of our shared commitment to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. In conclusion, the U.S. Constitution stands as a testament to the enduring values and principles that define the American experiment in democracy. From its humble origins in the aftermath of the Revolutionary War to its enduring legacy in the modern era, the Constitution continues to shape the nation's governance, identity, and collective destiny. As we navigate the complexities of the 21st century, let us draw inspiration from the timeless wisdom of the Constitution, reaffirming our commitment to a more perfect union, established and preserved for generations to come. The pre-Constitution era, challenges, and a flawed foundation. The period following the American Revolution, from 1783 to 1789, was a time of both celebration and uncertainty. The 13 colonies had secured their independence from Great Britain, but the challenges of forging a new nation were just beginning. This era, known as the pre-Constitution era, was marked by post-war difficulties and a growing recognition of the weaknesses in the first attempt at national governance, the Articles of Confederation. A. Post-revolutionary challenges. The victory over the British came at a heavy cost. The war had ravaged the American economy. Infrastructure was damaged, trade disrupted, and states were burdened with heavy debts. Soldiers returning home faced unemployment and economic hardship. Political instability simmered as states, newly independent, struggled to define their roles and establish new governments. Social unrest. The war had exacerbated social inequalities. Inflation and a lack of hard currency squeezed farmers and debtors. Many veterans felt betrayed by the government's inability to fulfill its wartime promises of land and financial compensation. This discontentment boiled over in 1786 to 87 with Shays' Rebellion, an uprising of Massachusetts farmers protesting high taxes and foreclosures. The rebellion, though ultimately suppressed, highlighted the weaknesses of the central government in maintaining order. International relations. The fledgling nation faced a precarious security situation. European powers, particularly Britain, watched the American experiment with a wary eye. The Articles of Confederation lacked the authority to negotiate effectively with foreign nations or forge strong alliances. Without a strong military or the ability to regulate trade, the United States struggled to gain international respect. B. Weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Drafted in 1777 and ratified in 1781, the Articles of Confederation established a loose league of states. It was designed to preserve state sovereignty after the fight against a powerful central government. However, this very emphasis on state autonomy proved to be the Articles' Achilles' heel. Limited central power. The Articles created a unicameral Congress, where each state had one vote regardless of population. This made it difficult to pass legislation requiring any sacrifice from individual states. Congress lacked the power to tax directly, relying instead on voluntary contributions from states, which were often unreliable. Additionally, Congress couldn't regulate commerce between states, leading to trade wars and economic chaos. Enforcement issues. The Articles lacked the power to enforce its own laws. It couldn't raise an army or compel states to comply with congressional decisions. This weakness became evident during Shays' Rebellion, where the national government was powerless to quell the uprising without relying on individual states for military support. Economic instability. The inability to regulate commerce or tax effectively created a chaotic economic environment. States implemented conflicting trade policies, hindering interstate commerce. The lack of a national currency further complicated financial transactions. The national debt continued to grow without a reliable means to pay it back. Diplomacy and defense. The Articles severely restricted the national government's ability to conduct foreign policy. Negotiating treaties and maintaining a standing military proved difficult under this system. The United States couldn't effectively defend its borders or secure vital trade agreements. Calls for reform. By the mid-1780s, it became increasingly clear that the Articles were inadequate. Leaders like George Washington and Alexander Hamilton recognized the need for a stronger central government to address these challenges and ensure the long-term stability of the nation. This growing sentiment ultimately led to the Constitutional Convention in 1787 and the drafting of a new governing document, the United States Constitution, which aimed to address the weaknesses of the Articles and establish a more robust federal system. The pre-Constitution era was a crucial period in American history. It exposed the limitations of a weak central government and highlighted the need for a more unified nation. The experiences of this era directly shaped the development of the U.S. Constitution, laying the foundation for a stronger and more enduring form of government. The Constitutional Convention of 1787, a nation reforged. A. Purpose and participants. The year was 1787. The 13 American colonies, fresh from their victory over Great Britain, faced a new challenge: forging a lasting union. The Articles of Confederation, the initial attempt at national governance, had proven demonstrably inadequate. Recognizing these shortcomings, delegates from 12 states, Rhode Island notably refused to participate, convened in Philadelphia for what would become known as the Constitutional Convention. The purpose of the convention was ostensibly to revise the Articles of Confederation. However, many delegates, particularly those advocating for a stronger central government, harbored a more ambitious agenda. They envisioned a new constitution that would establish a more effective and unified national government. The convention attracted a remarkable assembly of America's leading figures. Among the delegates were George Washington, the revered war hero who presided over the convention; James Madison, the father of the Constitution, who played a pivotal role in shaping its content; and Alexander Hamilton, a brilliant advocate for a powerful federal government. Other notable participants included Benjamin Franklin, the elder statesman who offered his wisdom and experience; Gouverneur Morris, who played a key role in drafting the final document; and Roger Sherman, a proponent of the Connecticut Compromise, which would become a critical element of the Constitution. B. Challenges faced by the delegates. The delegates to the Constitutional Convention faced a daunting task. They were tasked with crafting a new form of government that balanced the need for a strong central authority with the desire to preserve state autonomy, a concern deeply rooted in the American experience. One of the most significant challenges was reconciling the differing views on the extent of federal power. Some delegates, like Alexander Hamilton, favored a strong central government capable of regulating commerce, maintaining a national army, and levying taxes. Others, like states' rights advocates such as Patrick Henry, were wary of conceding too much power to the federal government, fearing a return to the tyranny they had fought against under British rule. The issue of representation also posed a significant hurdle. Should states be represented equally in the national legislature, regardless of population size? Or should representation be based on population, giving larger states more influence? This debate ultimately led to the Connecticut Compromise, which established a bicameral legislature, the Senate with equal representation for each state, and the House of Representatives with representation based on population. The question of slavery also loomed large over the convention. The delegates, many of whom were slaveholders themselves, sought to avoid a divisive debate on the issue. The resulting constitution made no explicit mention of slavery, but it did include provisions that indirectly protected the institution, such as the Three-Fifths Compromise, which counted enslaved people as three-fifths of a person for purposes of taxation and representation. Reaching consensus on these and other contentious issues required compromise, patience, and statesmanship. The delegates engaged in heated debates, often working late into the night. Ultimately, they were able to overcome their differences and produce a document that would become the foundation of American government for centuries to come. The Constitutional Convention, forging consensus through compromise. The Constitutional Convention of 1787 wasn't just a gathering of brilliant minds. It was a crucible where competing visions for America clashed and compromises were forged. Three key debates, representation, slavery, and federalism, dominated the convention and ultimately shaped the final document. A. Representation, large versus small states. One of the most fundamental issues was how states would be represented in the national legislature. Larger states, like Virginia, favored a system based on population. This would give them more power in the federal government, reflecting their greater contributions to the national treasury and population. Small states, on the other hand, championed equal representation for each state. They feared being dominated by their larger counterparts and losing their sovereignty. This debate threatened to derail the entire convention. The solution came in the form of the Great Compromise, championed by Roger Sherman of Connecticut. It established a bicameral legislature. The Senate, with 2 senators from each state, it ensured equal representation for all states, regardless of size. This appeased small states' concerns about their voice being heard. The House of Representatives. Representation here would be based on population, giving larger states more influence. This addressed the concerns of larger states about having a fair say in national matters. The Great Compromise wasn't perfect, but it was a brilliant stroke that balanced the need for a strong central government with the desire to preserve state autonomy. It became a cornerstone of the American political system. B. Slavery and the Three-Fifths Compromise. The issue of slavery was a ticking time bomb at the convention. The Southern states relied heavily on slave labor for their economy and were unwilling to consider any restrictions on the practice. Northern states, with a growing abolitionist sentiment, were hesitant to empower the South by giving them more representation based on their enslaved population. The Three-Fifths Compromise emerged as a controversial solution. It counted enslaved people as 3/5 of a person for purposes of taxation and representation in the House of Representatives. This gave the South a slight advantage in proportion to their free population, appeasing their concerns about losing power. The Three-Fifths Compromise was a deeply flawed solution. It enshrined slavery in the Constitution and fueled future tensions between the North and South. However, it allowed the convention to move forward without completely fracturing over this divisive issue. C. Federalism and the balance of powers. The delegates grappled with the question of how much power should reside with the national government versus the individual states. This issue formed the core of federalism, the system of government that divides power between a central authority and regional entities. The delegates aimed to create a strong federal government capable of addressing national problems like defense and interstate commerce. However, they were also wary of concentrating too much power in the hands of the federal government, fearing it could become tyrannical. The solution was to establish a system of checks and balances. The Constitution divided the federal government into 3 branches. Legislative, makes laws, Congress. Executive, enforces laws, President. Judicial, interprets laws, Supreme Court. Each branch was given specific powers and the ability to check the power of the other 2. This ensured no single branch could become too powerful and helped maintain a balance between national and state authority. Conclusion. The Constitutional Convention wasn't a harmonious gathering. It was a fierce battle of ideas, where compromise was essential for progress. The Great Compromise, the Three-Fifths Compromise, and the design of a federal system with checks and balances are testaments to the ingenuity and pragmatism of the delegates. Though not without flaws, these compromises laid the foundation for a stable and enduring government that continues to shape American politics today. Guiding principles, the bedrock of the American Constitution. The United States Constitution isn't just a document outlining the structure of government. It's a framework built upon fundamental principles that have shaped American society for centuries. 3 core principles: rule of law, separation of powers, and the evolution of individual rights, form the bedrock of this document. A. Rule of law. The principle of rule of law establishes that everyone, regardless of status, is subject to the same laws. This concept stands in stark contrast to a system ruled by arbitrary decrees or the whims of a powerful leader. The Constitution ensures that laws are applied fairly and consistently, creating a predictable and stable legal environment. The Constitution itself is the supreme law of the land. Any law passed by Congress or any action taken by the government must be consistent with the Constitution. The power to interpret the Constitution lies with the judicial branch, particularly the Supreme Court. Through landmark cases, the court has ensured that laws and government actions adhere to the principles enshrined in the Constitution. The rule of law fosters a sense of justice and fairness. It protects individuals from arbitrary actions by the government and creates a foundation for a civil society. B. Separation of powers and checks and balances. The framers of the Constitution were wary of concentrating too much power in the hands of any one individual or branch of government. To prevent tyranny, they established a system of separation of powers. The Constitution divides the federal government into three distinct branches. Legislative branch, Congress, makes laws. Executive branch, President enforces laws. Judicial branch, Supreme Court interprets laws. Each branch has specific powers and limitations. However, the principle of checks and balances goes a step further. It allows each branch to check the power of the others. For example, the President can veto laws passed by Congress, and the Supreme Court can declare laws unconstitutional. This intricate system prevents any one branch from becoming too powerful and ensures accountability within the government. It fosters a healthy competition between the branches, leading to a more deliberative and balanced approach to governance. C. Evolution of individual rights. The Constitution, while originally focused on establishing a strong central government, also laid the groundwork for the protection of individual rights. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, explicitly outlines fundamental rights, such as freedom of speech, religion, press, and assembly. These rights act as a shield against government overreach and ensure individual liberties are protected. However, the evolution of individual rights didn't stop with the Bill of Rights. Through subsequent amendments and Supreme Court decisions, the scope of individual rights has expanded over time. The 14th Amendment, for instance, established the concept of due process and equal protection under the law, further bolstering individual liberties. The fight for equal rights for all Americans, regardless of race, gender, or origin, continues to be a defining characteristic of American society. The Constitution serves as a guiding document in this ongoing pursuit, with its principles of individual rights providing a framework for a more just and equitable society. Conclusion. The rule of law, separation of powers, and the evolution of individual rights are not mere words in the Constitution. They are living principles that have shaped American democracy. These principles provide a foundation for a stable, just, and free society. While the Constitution is not without its limitations, it continues to be a powerful symbol of American ideals and serves as a guide for generations to come. The Preamble, a window into America's aspirations. The preamble to the United States Constitution serves as a concise introduction to the document's core objectives and guiding principles. Though short in length, it encapsulates the aspirations of the newly formed nation and lays the groundwork for the framework of government outlined in the following articles. A. Purpose and meaning. The preamble establishes the document's legitimacy by declaring, "We the people," as the source of its authority. This signifies a break from past systems where power resided with a monarch or a ruling elite. The Constitution, according to the preamble, is not imposed from above but rather created by and for the people. By stating the purpose of ordaining and establishing the Constitution, the preamble emphasizes its role as a foundational document for a new form of government. It outlines the goals the framers envisioned for this government, goals that would shape the lives of American citizens for generations to come. B. Core values. The specific language chosen in the preamble reveals the core values that underpin the Constitution. These values, while not explicitly defined, provide a roadmap for interpreting the document and understanding its underlying principles. Formation of a more perfect union. This phrase acknowledges the limitations of the Articles of Confederation and expresses the desire for a stronger and more unified national government. It reflects a recognition of the need for a central authority to address shared concerns and promote a sense of national identity. Establishment of justice. The pursuit of justice, a core value in any society, is explicitly mentioned in the preamble. It suggests a government that upholds fairness, enforces laws impartially, and protects individual rights. Ensuring domestic tranquility. This phrase emphasizes the importance of internal peace and stability. The framers recognized that a nation plagued by internal conflict could not effectively function or prosper. Providing for the common defense. The preamble acknowledges the need for a national defense to safeguard the country from external threats. This includes protecting against invasion and ensuring the security of American citizens. Promoting the general welfare. This broad phrase encompasses a range of government activities aimed at improving the well-being of its citizens. It could include fostering economic prosperity, providing essential services, and promoting societal progress. Securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. This final phrase underscores the central role of liberty in the American experiment. It expresses the desire not only to secure freedom for the current generation but also to ensure its continuation for future generations. Conclusion. The preamble serves as a powerful introduction to the Constitution, outlining its purpose and core values. It is a succinct statement of the aspirations of the framers and the principles that would guide the nation. By understanding the preamble, we gain a deeper appreciation for the goals and ideals enshrined in the Constitution, a document that continues to shape American democracy. The U.S. Constitution in global context, a model, an inspiration, an evolving document. The United States Constitution, drafted in 1787, stands as a landmark document not just in American history, but also in the global landscape of governance. Its influence on democratic ideals and its capacity for adaptation have cemented its place as a continuously relevant document. A. Influence on democratic governance. The Constitution's legacy extends far beyond American borders. Its principles of separation of powers, federalism, and individual rights have inspired countless nations embarking on the path of democratic self-rule. Following the American Revolution, newly formed nations in Latin America, like Mexico and Argentina, drew heavily on the Constitution's structure when crafting their own governing documents. The concept of a written constitution, outlining the framework and limitations of government, was a novel concept at the time. The American model provided a template for establishing a balance between a strong central authority and individual liberties. This emphasis on checks and balances, preventing any one branch of government from becoming all-powerful, resonated with nations seeking to avoid tyranny. Furthermore, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, served as a beacon of individual freedoms. Rights like freedom of speech, religion, and assembly became aspirational for nations striving to dismantle oppressive regimes and establish societies based on individual liberty. However, it's important to acknowledge that the Constitution's influence hasn't been uniform. Critics point out that the document, crafted by slaveholders, failed to address the issue of slavery directly. Additionally, the limitations on suffrage for women and people of color at the time of its ratification raise questions about the document's initial commitment to universal rights. B. Adaptability and flexibility. Despite its limitations, the Constitution's adaptability has been a key factor in its enduring relevance. The document itself provides mechanisms for amendment, allowing it to evolve and adapt to changing societal needs. Over the centuries, amendments have addressed issues like slavery, 13th Amendment, voting rights, 15th and 19th Amendments, and limitations on presidential power, 22nd Amendment. This adaptability has allowed the Constitution to remain a dynamic document, capable of addressing new challenges and incorporating new voices into the American experiment. Landmark Supreme Court decisions have also played a crucial role in interpreting the Constitution and expanding the scope of individual rights. For example, rulings like Brown v. Board of Education, 1954, desegregated public schools, demonstrating the judiciary's role in upholding the Constitution's ideals. The ongoing debate surrounding gun control exemplifies the Constitution's adaptability. The Second Amendment's guarantee of the right to bear arms is constantly reinterpreted in light of contemporary issues like mass shootings. This ongoing dialogue reflects the Constitution's ability to spark conversation and inspire solutions that address the evolving needs of American society. In conclusion, the U.S. Constitution's influence on democratic governance worldwide is undeniable. While its limitations and historical context must be considered, its core principles and capacity for adaptation continue to inspire nations and shape American society. The document serves as a testament to the ongoing pursuit of a more perfect union, a nation striving to live up to its ideals of liberty and justice for all. The U.S. Constitution in global context, a model, an inspiration, an evolving document. The United States Constitution, drafted in 1787, stands as a landmark document not just in American history, but also in the wave of democratic ideals that swept the globe in the late 18th and 19th centuries. Its influence on democratic governance and its capacity for adaptation have cemented its place as a continuously relevant document, even as the world around it has undergone dramatic transformations. Influence on democratic governance. The legacy of the Constitution extends far beyond American borders. Its core principles, separation of powers, federalism, and individual rights, have served as an inspiration for countless nations embarking on the path of democratic self-rule. In the aftermath of the American Revolution, newly formed nations in Latin America, like Mexico and Argentina, drew heavily on the Constitution's structure when crafting their own governing documents. The concept of a written constitution, outlining the framework and limitations of government, was a novel idea at the time. The American model provided a template for establishing a balance between a strong central authority and individual liberties. This emphasis on checks and balances, preventing any one branch of government from becoming all-powerful, resonated with nations seeking to avoid tyranny. Furthermore, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, served as a beacon of individual freedoms. Rights like freedom of speech, religion, and assembly became aspirational for nations striving to dismantle oppressive regimes and establish societies based on individual liberty. These enshrined rights offered a stark contrast to the arbitrary rule that characterized many governments of the era. However, the Constitution's influence hasn't been uniform. Critics point out that the document, crafted by slaveholders, failed to address the issue of slavery directly. The inherent contradiction between liberty and the institution of slavery would become a central tension in American society, ultimately leading to a bloody civil war. Additionally, the limitations on suffrage for women and people of color at the time of ratification raise questions about the document's initial commitment to universal rights. These limitations would be rectified through amendments and social movements over time, but they highlight the ongoing struggle to live up to the Constitution's ideals. Adaptability and flexibility. Despite its limitations, the Constitution's adaptability has been a key factor in its enduring relevance. Unlike rigid pronouncements, the document itself provides mechanisms for amendment, allowing it to evolve and adapt to changing societal needs. Over the centuries, amendments have addressed issues that the framers could not have foreseen, such as slavery, 13th Amendment, voting rights, 15th and 19th Amendments, and limitations on presidential power, 22nd Amendment. This adaptability has allowed the Constitution to remain a dynamic document capable of addressing new challenges and incorporating new voices into the American experiment. Landmark Supreme Court decisions have also played a crucial role in interpreting the Constitution and expanding the scope of individual rights. For example, rulings like Brown v. Board of Education, 1954, desegregated public schools, demonstrating the judiciary's role in upholding the Constitution's ideals of equal protection under the law. The ongoing debate surrounding gun control exemplifies the Constitution's adaptability. The Second Amendment's guarantee of the right to bear arms is constantly reinterpreted in light of contemporary issues like mass shootings. This ongoing dialogue reflects the Constitution's ability to spark conversation and inspire solutions that address the evolving needs of American society. While the original intent of the Second Amendment remains a subject of debate, the document's framework allows for contemporary interpretations to be applied within the broader context of individual liberties and public safety. The challenge of universality. The American experiment in democracy has not been without its flaws. The legacy of slavery, the struggles for racial and gender equality, and the ongoing debate about the role of government in a complex society all raise questions about the universality of the Constitution's principles. While the document has served as a model for democratic governance, it cannot be simply transplanted onto vastly different cultures and histories. However, the core principles of the Constitution, individual liberty, limited government, and the rule of law, continue to resonate with people around the world. These principles are not unique to the United States, but the Constitution provides a framework for their implementation. Nations embarking on the path of democracy must adapt these principles to their own specific contexts, creating institutions and processes that reflect their unique histories and aspirations. The U.S. Constitution in the 21st century. In the 21st century, the U.S. Constitution faces new challenges. The rise of globalization, the increasing influence of technology, and the growing interconnectedness of the world all present complexities that the framers could not have anticipated. Issues like climate change, international terrorism, and economic inequality require cooperation on a global scale, raising questions about the role of the nation-state and the balance between national sovereignty and international cooperation. The U.S. Constitution, while not a perfect document, continues to offer a foundation for navigating these challenges. Its emphasis on federalism allows for a degree of flexibility in how the national government interacts with the international community. Additionally, the amendment process, though challenging, provides a mechanism for adapting the document to address unforeseen circumstances. The ongoing debate and interpretation of the Constitution ensure its continued relevance. The document serves as a living document, constantly evolving through judicial decisions, legislative actions, and public discourse. This adaptability allows the core principles of the Constitution to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. A model for continuous improvement. The United States experiment in democracy is a work in progress. The ideals enshrined in the Constitution, a more perfect union, justice for all, and the pursuit of happiness, continue to inspire ongoing efforts to address social and economic inequalities. The document's adaptability allows for the ongoing expansion of individual rights and a more inclusive definition of "we the people." In conclusion, the U.S. Constitution stands as a testament to the enduring power of democratic ideals. Its influence on democratic governance worldwide is undeniable, even as its limitations and historical context require ongoing examination. The document's adaptability and its capacity to spark critical conversations about liberty, justice, and the role of government ensure its continued relevance in the 21st century. As the United States and the world grapple with new challenges, the Constitution's core principles, limited government, individual liberty, and the rule of law, provide a foundation for building a more just and equitable future. Exploring enduring significance, the U.S. Constitution's legacy. The United States Constitution, forged in the crucible of the American Revolution, stands as a cornerstone of American history and a document of enduring significance. Beyond its immediate impact in establishing a new form of government, the Constitution's influence has permeated American society, shaping its institutions, ideals, and ongoing debates. This essay explores the document's lasting impact on American history and its continued relevance in the 21st century. A. Impact on American history. The Constitution's legacy in American history is undeniable. It provided the framework for a stable and enduring government, a stark contrast to the fragile Articles of Confederation that preceded it. The separation of powers, a cornerstone principle, prevented any one branch of government from becoming overly powerful, safeguarding against tyranny. The system of checks and balances further ensured accountability within the government, fostering a more deliberative and balanced approach to governing. The Constitution also laid the groundwork for a vibrant federal system. By dividing power between the national government and the states, the document allowed for both national unity and regional autonomy. This delicate balance has been a hallmark of American governance, allowing states to experiment with different policies while maintaining a strong central authority to address national concerns like defense and interstate commerce. Perhaps the most profound impact of the Constitution has been on the evolution of individual rights in America. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, enshrined fundamental liberties such as freedom of speech, religion, and assembly. These rights became a cornerstone of American democracy, fostering a society that values individual expression and dissent. While the initial limitations on suffrage for women and people of color are undeniable flaws, the Constitution's framework has allowed for continuous expansion of rights through amendments and Supreme Court decisions. Landmark cases like Brown v. Board of Education, 1954, demonstrate the document's capacity to adapt and address evolving societal notions of equality. Beyond its direct impact on government and individual rights, the Constitution has also served as a unifying symbol for the American people. Its ideals of liberty, justice, and self-government have inspired generations of Americans and immigrants alike. The document's aspirational language, such as the preamble's promise to form a more perfect union, provides a constant reminder of the ongoing pursuit of a more just and equitable society. B. Contemporary relevance. The U.S. Constitution, drafted in a vastly different era, might seem like a relic of the past. However, its core principles, limited government, individual liberty, and the rule of law, remain remarkably relevant in the 21st century. One of the Constitution's enduring strengths is its adaptability. The amendment process, though challenging, allows the document to evolve and address new challenges. Issues like technological advancements, the rise of social media, and the complexities of globalization were unimaginable to the framers. Yet, the Constitution's framework allows for ongoing debate and interpretation, ensuring its principles remain applicable in a rapidly changing world. The document continues to be a vital source for shaping American political discourse. Debates surrounding gun control, campaign finance reform, and the role of government in social welfare programs all draw upon the Constitution's framework and principles. These ongoing conversations ensure the document's continued relevance and its role in shaping the nation's future. Furthermore, the Constitution continues to inspire democratic movements around the world. While its principles cannot be simply transplanted onto vastly different cultures and histories, its core tenets of individual liberty and accountable government remain aspirational for nations embarking on the path of self-rule. The document serves as a model for democratic governance, encouraging nations to establish systems that limit government power and protect individual rights. However, the Constitution's legacy is not without its complexities. The document's birth coincided with the institution of slavery, a stark contradiction to its ideals of liberty. The ongoing struggle for racial equality in America highlights the need for continuous efforts to live up to the Constitution's promises. Additionally, the rise of economic inequality raises questions about the extent to which the Constitution's framework ensures equal opportunity for all citizens. Conclusion: the U.S. Constitution, though not without its flaws, remains a powerful and enduring document. Its impact on American history has been profound, shaping not just the structure of government, but also the nation's core values and aspirations. The document's continued relevance lies in its adaptability, its ability to inspire ongoing debate, and its enduring significance as a model for democratic governance. The Constitution serves as a living document, constantly evolving through judicial decisions, legislative actions, and public discourse. As America grapples with new challenges in the 21st century, the document's core principles, limited government, individual liberty, and the rule of law, provide a foundation for navigating these complexities and striving towards a more perfect union.